Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Kageyama, and I'd like to welcome everyone here to Be Your Own Hero. I am doing absolutely fantastic, and I hope all of you are as well. I am a stage 4 cancer patient with prostate, bone, and lung cancer, and I've been battling now for 17 months, and I am very, very happy to let you know that uh, a lot of my areas are starting to get better, and some are completely healed, and and there are works in progress still, but we're moving in the right direction. So I'm absolutely thrilled about that. This next week coming up, I have some fresh scans coming up, so I'll be reporting on that as well. And I'd like to also mention at this time that for those of you who are not aware, we have our Cancer Conquering Community every Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. And our community is growing. And I'd like to just mention real quickly we lost one of our wonderful members, Tani Cutler, who passed away from cancer, unfortunately. But uh, we I wish everyone would say a prayer for her because she was very young. She was only 37, but we all come together and we all support each other. And this is for cancer patients, cancer survivors, um, caretakers, doctors, nurses, or we even have people who have spouses or siblings that have cancer that want to come in and learn and understand it. And I had a friend of mine come in and he just lost his wife to cancer within the last few months, and so I was really happy that he came in and he said, "Man, that was absolutely amazing," because it's really a great thing to get support from people who understand what you're going through. And all of us are going through some sort of cancer or disease or things like that, and to have that support and understanding from people is means the world. Absolutely means the world. So if you want to join us, it's every Thursday on the Clubhouse app. You can touch base with me, and if you need help, I'll be happy to set you up with that. So today, I am so thrilled and so happy. And look at that smile. I love that smile. I'd like to introduce to you my new friend, Jenny Gold. Jenny, please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and we'll get this show going.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you so much for having me on your show today. I'm so glad that we met. I really am. So I'm glad that you reached out to me and vice versa. Um, so I'm trying to decide where to start with this. I have a close tie to cancer because of my parents. We just lost my mom. My dad passed too. So we have other family members that have had it. And this is why I cry. You don't need to. but but it's very close to me right now. And we have other family members. One other family member that we never met was my dad's mother, who passed also. So from cancer. I think a lot of this can be tied to. There's a lot of things that can be tied to, but unfortunately, we have lost two of my parents. I've lost to cancer recently. My mom recently was then this month, and then in March actually, and then my dad about 6 or 7 years ago.
You know how it's one thing I understand completely, having uh, gone through this journey, what it's like as a personal journey, but it's got to be it's a totally different perspective when you're looking at somebody that you love and care about that has cancer. And can you share some of your thoughts and feelings about that? How you feel about somebody that's real close to you, how you're dealing with that.
With my dad was diagnosed, and I didn't live in Florida, but my mom and dad were in Florida at the time, and he was actually driving back from my sister's in Michigan, and he knew something was wrong, and he had blood in his urine, and they thought, oh, he might have a UTI or something. And he had blood in his urine, like a lot. And he didn't tell my mom the entire time driving back to Florida this was going on. So they actually contacted the doctor when they got there. That was sample. They said, whoa, there's a lot of blood in there, but it was fine. And so the doctor said, we better get you in to get a scan or something. And they came back and said, you need to see this cancer doctor. And this is what I understand. I was not there, but this is kind of the story that I know is that they've got him in to probably a CAT scan right away or something. And his lymph nodes in his groin area were totally inflamed, and they had to do a PET scan and everything else. And at that point, they knew it was leukemia. Now, I don't know if that's when he was actually diagnosed with lymphoma also. So that's where I kind of don't have the whole story together on that part of it, but he did have leukemia and lymphoma. But we went back to Florida with the holidays and stuff, like for Christmas and things like that. And he always seemed great, but he was on chemo. He was actually in a test for chemo pills at the time, and it was a third trial. The third trial, is that what they call it, Mark? Where they actually it was already stage 3 of the trial or something like that. So they felt comfortable doing that, but you're literally like you're like the rat, like you're the test rat essentially, because you're actually giving your body away to science. So if it works, it works. If it doesn't. If it kills you, it kills you. So I mean, I hate to say it that way, everybody, but that's how they find out what the side effects are from these drugs that you're going to be taking, not just for cancer, but for any drug. So he decided to do that. And in the end, it got him, something else got him in the end, but that was a huge part of probably what got him too. So.
How frustrating, or what are your thoughts uh, about hearing things from afar? And you're here and they're very far away. um, that's got to be very trying and very mentally taxing. Can you please talk about that?
It was mentally taxing because fortunately at the time, my boyfriend at the time and I moved out here from California, where you are from. And he was in the cancer radiation equipment field, and so we understood what was going on with my dad, but he didn't know a whole lot about chemo. So he could talk to him about radiation, but my dad wasn't getting radiation, but he actually knew kind of what was going on, but he wasn't a doctor or anything like that. So to have somebody around who would say, I know what's going on. Like I know what's going on because I have seen patients and I've had to work with patients with this whole radiation thing that are going through exactly what your dad was going through, but also with radiation. So at least I had somebody with me to talk to about it. But you always hear one thing from your mom, there's one thing from your dad. It's not as bad according to your dad. It's going to be the worst ever, and he's going to get PET scan again. It's going to be really bad. My dad would say, "Oh my gosh, the PET scan was great," and he had great PET scans for a while. So not at first. I mean, obviously, because they found what he had, but it was under control for a while from what he was telling me. Whether or not that was true, I believe it was true, but that's the thing. You don't know because you're not there. And you're not talking to the doctors, and you're not meeting with the nurses, and you're not there when he's getting his chemo. So you just have to kind of take what you hear. And that's the hardest part, I'd say.
That would really drive me crazy, because
Yeah.
it's kind of like that thing where they say, you tell a person something, and then
Yep.
after they tell 10 people, it's
Yeah.
like a totally different
Mhm.
message. Is that
Exactly.
kind of the feeling that you got?
A little bit. But you just have to take it as you hear it because they're there and you're not there. And if you said something like, well, you just told me this yesterday, and did he not remember? Did she not remember? Me and my mom was going to all of his chemo treatments and having to just walk her into the car, getting out of the car. My dad was still driving until a certain point, and then he couldn't drive anymore. And finally he said, okay, I can't drive anymore. But that was a lot for him to give up too. So that was hard. Now when my mom was just diagnosed, she wasn't driving anymore. She was in Michigan. My sister was there. My sister was dealing with the doctors there and deciding what the treatments were going to be and stuff like that. So if I didn't hear from my sister, it was different hearing it from my mom than from my sister. Now I know that my sister probably heard it. My mom always wanted my sister there to understand what they were saying. But yeah, so at least my sister was there for her. But I wasn't allowed to go back and see her because of COVID and everything. And because of what's going on with me, I don't want to fly or anything. So unfortunately she passed, but I didn't get to see her.
That, that
That's hard.
that's
Yeah.
that is so sad that, what COVID did to our way of life as far as being with family.
Right.
I personally, my father passed away a year ago. We're filming this on April 1st. He passed away a year ago today.
Oh no way. Did you know
And
that?
pardon me?
Did you just realize that?
Yeah, I just realized that.
Sorry.
I just realized that.
Yeah, I
In
told you
fact,
these things always come out when some people are interviewing me or I'm interviewing them. So I don't know why. I don't know why. Sorry about that.
no. What happened was I was in the hospital as a result of a botched lung biopsy.
Mm.
And so uh, I'll tell the story real quick for those who haven't heard it. Uh, and I've never been able to make this fit all the pieces together in my mind about lung biopsies.
Right.
But what they were trying to do with me was they would stick a needle in my lungs and they were trying to get a sample of the cancer as close to the edge of the lungs as possible.
Like that's the line.
And so then after I had the procedure, they said, well, we got a sample and you have two choices. You could either get a tube to drain your lungs, or we have this new device. It's like a little box. It was about this big and it was a rectangle and it has a tube. And so I said, Doc, I have no idea. So I'm going to have to go with your expertise. And so he suggested this little rectangular box um, as a way to help stabilize and help my lungs heal.
Right.
So they sent me home. And the next morning I was to go in. And I went back into the hospital and the doctor checked me and I looked at him and he started literally panicking. And I thought to myself, this is not good. And he said, we are going to admit you to the hospital now. I said, why? He said, your lung has collapsed. And I thought, that is great. And so I said, how long am I going to be in the hospital? He says, I have no idea. And so they admitted me to the hospital. And what had happened was they took a sample of the cancer that was close to my lungs. And because there was cancer there near the sample, it prevented my lungs from healing. And so I thought, it just didn't make any sense to me at all. And so I was in there, and so I had teams of surgeons come in, and they would come in and grill me and talk to me and everything like that. And so I finally had this one surgeon come in the following day, and he said, "Well, do you want to have another surgery so we could go in there and repair your lungs?" I said, "There's not a chance in this world that you're ever gonna touch my lungs again." And he looked at me and he goes, okay, I get it. And so I said, I'll be in here a year if I have to be, because I'm just not going to allow you to touch my lungs surgically again. And so to make a long story short, I was in there a full week, and I actually got out of the hospital today, April 1st, a year ago. And that same morning was when my father passed away. He had Alzheimer's, and none of the family was able to go in and see him because he was in a home and because of the COVID restrictions and everything like that. So yeah, it's what happened with all of our lives is just really, really tragic because it changed. So many people passed away, and
Everybody's life has changed. Yeah.
right, and so many people were in different situations, with births, with this. And, it's so sad that we weren't able to, give the people the respect
Exactly.
that they deserved.
Exactly.
And so that's so sad.
I was gonna try to make a joke because I know the other night we were talking and I was like, "You have stage 4 cancer? Wow, you look great." He's all smiling. He's like, what they're giving you is, do you want to choose from door number 1, door number 2, door number 3? Which one do you want?" Like for you, that's kind of what they were saying. What door would you like to choose today? You're like, none. No, doors. I think that box sounded like it was door number 1, but no, the door number 3 did not happen. Like after all that stuff happened. So I'm really sorry that that happened to you. I've heard of this happening before, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
from
But
my pediatrician told me that that happened to
yeah,
them.
that it's I didn't even think about it until, I was thinking about it, you know, the days leading up to today. I thought about it a number of times, but
Right.
I don't know why today I didn't think about it until just now. And so thanks for mentioning that. It really brought,
About the
brought
door
the
number 1, door number 2, or door number 3, like, or the year. Yeah, it also happened on April Fools, but you guys, that was not an April Fools joke, by the way. That
yeah,
was door number 1, door number 2, door number 3 was, but not, but it happened to him and his dad. So
yeah.
I take that back. I'm very sorry about your loss of your dad, but you know what? We have you here. You're here.
Oh,
And
thank you, thank you. I mean, it's um, hopefully moving forward, we won't have to go through any more lockdowns
right,
or
right,
things that just completely alter our lives and,
right.
unnecessarily, because I think at this point, as a country, we're all ready to move on, and we're all ready to live and
Yeah,
get our lives back, which
yeah.
I hope everybody is doing. But I'd like to find out about more about you and your podcast, how you started it, and
Sorry.
what kind of people do you talk to, and things like that.
Well, actually, um, so I actually started in the PR field. My first job was actually in LA, so that was very exciting for me. And I was on a Nintendo account. I had great things going on, and then I actually already had Lyme disease. I didn't tell them when they hired me. I got there for an internship, but I did not tell them that I had Lyme disease. But every so often it would kind of catch up with me, and I'd be like, "Oh, I'm fine, I'm fine." That's what we do with Lyme disease, right? But then it wasn't so fine again. So I moved out to Colorado. Was out here for 10 years. Went back to California for another 7 years. And that's what I've been doing. When I got back here last time, I actually met Tim Solom. That's how I met Mark, who is also a cancer patient right now. Tim came out on my podcast on podcast, is what my podcast is called, Podcast on Podcast, and told the world that he has, not Alzheimer's, sorry, Tim. He has leukemia. And he has leukemia, and he never told the world about this at all, just his family and his wife. So a couple of people, other people, but really not a lot of people knew. His sister knew. And he came out about, it was last June. So I didn't know my podcast was going to become more of talking to people with cancer and other illnesses, but it really came out with my podcast to talk about autoimmune diseases. So I have all sorts of people on my podcast about autoimmune diseases. We talk about every single one you can imagine. So not just Lyme disease, not just some forms of cancer are autoimmune related, but IBS, Crohn's disease, um, you name it. Like I talk to people about this stuff. So MS, lupus, I meant to say lupus, MS, multiple sclerosis, pretty much everything. So if you guys have anything you want to talk about on my show, come in, right? So it's been amazing for me because it lets me actually do what I do. When I went to college, I was actually a journalism major. So I'm actually able to like talk to people and listen to people about what's going on with them too, and let them get their stories out and not tell their stories for them, but them then tell their stories on my podcast.
What are the symptoms of Lyme disease, and what do you have to do to deal with it on a daily basis?
Um, well, everything is kind of a symptom, to be honest with you. It's kind of, can't remember right now because I have brain fog from it. I've been trying to not have brain fog lately, but It's almost like the COVID brain fog that people have, from what I understand. Um, that's the kind of brain fog that I have too. But what happens is it can be everything from, like, you lose your memory, or you lose your eyesight, or you can't really walk, kind of like an MS patient if they have a lot of neuro issues, which I did because I was bit by my ear. We know about that bite, which I actually was bit in Mexico. We know that for sure. We also think I was probably bit in college, in high school, never in the UP of Michigan on a camping trip. So I might have been bit twice. Our cat had it when I was in college. He could have gotten it running around outside. He was an outdoor cat partially. So you never know. But anyway, I had a lot of issues just with memory, cognitive stuff, my eyes. All of a sudden, my fingers, like the fingers would get numb for no reason. It go all right down the side of my arm, and there's all sorts of things were happening, but they did not figure out what was wrong with me for 2 years. They thought it was a mess, and they said the doctor actually at Dow Chemical said to my dad, "I think she might have Lyme disease." Like, oh, they tested her for that. He goes, "No, there's a doctor. Believe it or not, you guys, 20 miles away from where we live, 20, 25 miles away. We went there, filled out this form. He said, oh, you have 28 of 38 symptoms. He goes, we're going to start you on drugs right now. Like, the what do you call them? Antibiotics and everything. So the minute they did that, shouldn't say the minute, within the time period we started it, at night, when I woke up in the morning, my entire ear right here, I was bit behind this ear, was broken out in blisters.
Wow.
Like, and up here, my whole head up here was so sore. And every time I tried to brush my hair or move my hair, it felt like I have nerves in my hair. I mean, it's so
Wow.
painful. It's still, when it comes back, when it's like, it resets at like, sorry, this ugly head every so often. And all of a sudden it will come back right here. And I'm like, great. Can't brush my hair or wash my hair or anything. So it happens. I mean, I am, unfortunately, I'm a long-term Lyme disease treatment person. They call it the PTSD of Lyme disease, post-traumatic Lyme disease syndrome. Another saying, post-traumatic Lyme disease treatment syndrome.
So how long have you been dealing with this?
We know it's been 38 plus years.
Wow.
So right now, actually, I'm taking a lot of the things that people are taking to hopefully not get COVID. Like, I'm taking the D3 and the zinc, the Crisoquin, and something else over here. I can't remember the other thing, but kind of everything that they're telling people to take right now, magnesium. So my Lyme doctors are telling me on Zoom calls and everything internationally. Some of them are international right now. They're telling us to take the exact same things that they're telling COVID patients or people that don't want to get COVID to take. But you're not going to talk about that. But I'm just saying, if you guys are taking the things they're telling you to take and vitamin C, then if you have Lyme disease, take those things too. Right. So
what about do you do anything special with your diet?
I've been kind of doing everything. I've been kind of running the gamut right now. I've done I'm pretty much dairy free, gluten free, and I just do like almond milk and coconut milk, things like that, and shakes. But because of what's still going on, it's kind of been difficult to go see anybody, especially person for me, because all my Lyme doctors were either on the East Coast or the West Coast. So right now I'm not flying back to California to see them in San Francisco. So I would have to talk to them on the phone or on Zoom call. The thing with that, there's $600 to $750 for like 45 minutes. And it's even if you're in house with them or if you're on Zoom, that's how much it is. So I'm trying to treat myself right now the best I can myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But you want me
That's
to
good.
stay with you? You want to see you and stay with you. No, I'm just kidding. But even flying right now, I just don't feel that comfortable doing that. That's just my opinion for me. But I have probably, we know I have over 50 autoimmune diseases right now from the Lyme. So I know, right? So I'm not doing quite as well as I was doing just because I'm more sedentary right now. It's okay. I was like, that's okay. I'll get better. So I said to people, they're like, okay, right. So, but how are you? How are you feeling though?
I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here with you. I'm happy for every single day.
Thank you.
Uh, I just feel so blessed and so privileged and so honored to experience every single day.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, every day is just such a uh, an incredible thing, and I wish people um,
right,
would realize, you know, a lot of the things that they're worried about and they complain
mhm,
about are really
right,
nothing
exactly.
because, hey, you know,
Exactly. I mean, there's so many.
and I don't think you get that perspective until your
Mhm,
back is against the wall of
right.
life.
It's true.
You know, when your back is against the wall of life, um, that's when you realize, you know,
It's true.
what's really important. And
Yeah.
what's really important is, you know, uh, having the ability to open your eyes every day and, you know, experiencing a new day on a daily basis. And that is such a blessing. You know,
Yes.
uh, there's nothing else like it because,
Right.
you know, if we have the opportunity to live a day, we have the opportunity to do something for the world and to uh, help bring people together, and so that's what's so important is,
Mm,
you know, everybody, you know, a lot of people are all about themselves and all about, you know, this is going wrong and that's going wrong. uh, I always try to look at I always look at it on the flip side, you know. um, what is good, what is going right, what
right.
can I make happen
Mm,
that will be a benefit. And so, yeah, that's my mindset. My mindset every day is to uh, get the most out of every single day because every single day is so precious. That's why it's like people say, "Hey, can I do a podcast with you?" You know, because I deal with people all over the world. Can I do a podcast with you at like 9 o'clock at night? Sure. If I'm awake, I'm willing to do it. You know,
oh,
because I've been interviewed by people from Vietnam
yeah,
and South Africa and Europe and,
yeah,
you know, all over the place, and so you have to deal with different time zones and, you know,
yeah. hmm
it's all, you know, if you want to do it, that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
And you know, and part of it is being flexible and you know, working with people. But I just love meeting people and especially with people that are positive. It's just I just love that. I just love people such as you and Tim and people who uh, are all about making
Yeah.
things better and making the world better. So
Mm.
that's what I'm about.
I love the fact that you brought that up about interviewing and having people interview you or interviewing other people from around the world. I made more friends in more countries because of COVID. I mean, seriously, we didn't have this lockdown. Pretty much the entire world's been in lockdown, right? So all of a sudden, I'm interviewing people in Egypt, in South Africa, like you are, in London, outside of London. I mean, remember Cyprus? I mean, who thought you'd be doing that a year, like 5 years ago or 3 years ago? So, I mean, this is kind of one of the best things that has happened to me. If you want to look at the flip side of it, yeah, I'm kind of sedentary right now, not doing a whole lot. But at the same time, I can be on a call with you. We wouldn't have met before, right? I mean, I could not be more blessed to have met you. Is that you've introduced me to other people, right?
Oh, that is so
Yeah,
nice, Jenny. God,
yeah, I'm serious.
I
I'm
am so
serious.
touched.
Thank you. But
Yeah.
I'm so touched that you wanted to speak with me because this is like one of the best things could have happened to me. So when I'm meeting you with your friend on tomorrow, then that could bring really great things to me. You just never know. I mean, I've met people in Canada, and I mean, I just lived in Michigan, right? So we're in Canada all the time. But I met more people up there. I met people up there now because of people I met on LinkedIn have cancer. Absolutely. Have they lost family members from COVID and other things? And actually from cancer. but couldn't go in to see them because of COVID and watch their mother pass away on an iPad. And they
Oh,
lived like not
oh,
that far away in Canada from each other.
oh.
Like how awful is that? So I mean, I'm meeting people where I'm actually feeling what they're going through. I'm an empath too, if you guys can't tell. So that's why I was like, when we started talking at first, I was like, oh, I'm gonna cry now. Like, but it's really I feel people's feelings. And you told me that your dad passed today, about a year ago. Um, I knew something out there was gonna come up. I knew it. I told you, like this always happens to me. I was not surprised when you said that. I'm like, I knew something was out there. Or I knew something was coming to me. I'm like, okay, everything's gonna be fine. So, but honestly, those are the types of things that you know that you've met somebody for a reason. You, you absolutely do. And so I'm really, really honored that I met you, honestly. I
Oh,
thanked him for
I
that.
and likewise, I feel exactly the same
Thank you.
way. And
Thank you.
you know, I mean,
Yeah,
you're part
we
of.
do. We do non-virtual hug if I was still in California. Right. Right. Well, I don't know if you're supposed to do that there. I'm not exactly sure what your restrictions are anymore in California, but coming up,
I could tell you
coming up.
unequivocally that is not allowed here.
Oh, it's not. It's all out here. No, no, it's still, people are still a little bit timid here for sure, but not as timid as they were. I think they're tired of it, like you're saying. So they're being careful, but maybe not as careful as they were before. And that's
Right.
why I couldn't go back to Michigan anyway, because Michigan and California are a lot alike with their lockdowns and everything. They were,
Mm,
Colorado wasn't quite as strict, but actually they weren't. So it could have been a little bit stricter, but that's okay.
hmm
Um, but we're doing okay though. You guys are too, or they wouldn't be lifting some things for you, right? Yeah.
Getting there. There's still a lot of things going on here that's
Like,
for another day and another time.
exactly, exactly. But and we're going to talk about that. But the whole thing about cancer is that it is affecting a lot of people, unfortunately, in ways that aren't the most positive. And this is just one illness. Cancer is just one illness where you can't be with your family possibly when they're passing away, and it's tough. It's really tough.
Yeah, I think now things have gotten a little bit better,
Mhm.
uh, to where, you know, you can go visit in the hospital on a
Yeah,
limited basis,
right.
and things like that. Um,
Yeah,
so we have progressed, we haven't progressed far enough,
right. Mhm.
but hopefully soon
Right.
the restrictions will all
Right.
be lifted, and um, the craziness will settle down, and hopefully
They're
we
trying to
can
keep
get
you
back
safe
to
too.
really
They're trying to,
living and
yeah, they're trying
appreciating
to keep
life.
you safe though, because with what you've gone through, with your treatments and everything, some of your treatments were pretty much killing off your stem cells, right? Pretty much, I guess. So you weren't as safe to be out and amongst people anyway, when you're going through your treatments. And I think overall for you, that's safer for you if the hospitals are doing that at the time.
Hmm
Now they can get rid of it. Right. Possibly some of it.
Do you have any thoughts that you want to share with everybody about uh, what you've gathered and garnered from interviewing people with very significant diseases? What are your thoughts as far as that goes? What have you drawn from those interviews that you could share with all of our people here?
I I'll tell you, the first person I interviewed live, um, she went through crazy like crazy stuff in her family like when she was a child. But I was like, but do you have an autoimmune disease? I'm thinking, but do you have an autoimmune disease amongst everything else traumatic that you went through? She has IBS from it. She has IBS. She came out and said, I have IBS. They never knew why I had IBS. This is why I have IBS. So I believe that a lot of things that people are going through, regardless of what you have, if it's cancer or other illnesses that might not be autoimmune related, you can get autoimmune diseases, excuse me, from whatever you're going through. It's a ton. That's what I was saying before. I believe that some of the cancer that I've heard of was brought on by stress and just daily life and your daily life, because sometimes that can happen. And then all of a sudden you get an autoimmune disease because that your other organs and stuff aren't functioning quite as well. So IBS is a perfect example of people like so stressed out, your colon and everything's just like you can't even process your food and things like that. So there are other things that come and unfortunately can come out from this. But I've interviewed people like in South Africa. She has lupus. She has the worst case of lupus I think I've ever heard of. I know a lot of people that have lupus, but she also has all these other things like cancer, and she did get the C19 like 3 times, like she believes, like, but because of what she has, she can pick up other things kind of like me. So I have now I'm not a doctor or a nurse. I have to say that. I should have said that first off. Sorry, I forgot. But I'm not a doctor or a nurse, but I feel like I almost am because I've gone through so many things. I've gone through so many tests, so many awful tests, like you, but not quite like you. But I people call me and say, hey, you know what? I have to get an MRI today. And like, I don't know how I'm gonna feel about that. I'm gonna be in this tube. I'm like, it'll be totally fine. How do you know I'm gonna be fine? Because I probably have over 100, if not more, in my lifetime now. So then I can talk to somebody about it and say, hey, you know what? You're gonna be fine. You know, I can talk to people about you have to get a spinal tap. I've had 3. Let me tell you about it. It's like this is what they're gonna do. But they might have changed it. It's been quite a few years for me, but I said this is what they've done. They did to me, so I can actually talk to people about that and just kind of explain to them if they want to call me about Lyme disease. We can talk about the doctors or what they're going through, and maybe they're going through things that I haven't gone through. With that, I don't want to have to go through, right? But they might give me some insight to what I have to. Does that help? Is that the right thing? I'm learning to think of what else, but I don't think it matters. Again, it doesn't matter where you live in the world. It really doesn't. We're all one person. We're all together in this. We all have the same illnesses. We all have very common illnesses when it comes to a specific illness. You can be a diabetic in one country, be a diabetic in another country, and there are a lot of similar things, right? Maybe they want to meet more people that are diabetics than you. Introduce them to the people that you know. I mean, I'm really a master networker. If you guys want to know the truth, I've been like this my entire life. I didn't like to be just in one group of people. I like to know everybody in every single group. Not everybody like that. No, they didn't like. So, but that's who I was. I just want to know everything about everybody. So that's how I am now too.
We're gonna be here a long time then.
Oh yeah, I know exactly right. We were a long time last night too, or 2 nights ago. Or 3
Yeah.
nights ago. All right. I think your wife was like, "Hey, dinner's ready. Is it ready for me?" Send out here a carrier pigeon or something, right?
Just to let you know, we talked the other night for it was a long time.
It's a long time. Long time. I'm a
And
talker. But you're a talker too. That was what was great. It was kind of like you just kept bouncing off at each other like a tennis game, right? But nobody was losing.
you know, when I was younger, I considered myself to be shy, but at some point, you know, I lost all that, and now it's like you can't shut me up. So,
Yeah.
in fact, I see that in my daughter as well.
Yeah.
When she was in school, she was so shy. She was so quiet, and now you cannot get her to to be quiet. It's just really
Yeah.
really great to see. I love seeing that,
Yeah.
and that's really great.
That's great
Uh,
actually.
what I'd like to do now is I'd like to wrap it up. And do you have any final thoughts before I close it out, Jenny?
I just want to thank you again for having me on your show. It really means a lot to me. It does, and I'm not just saying that because I don't talk about my family's cancer a whole lot. I have other members that have had cancer also, and we didn't have cancer in my family. Only my dad's mom, so we knew about that. We didn't know that my dad and my mom and my siblings and one other sibling was going to get cancer. So I mean, it's kind of like where did this come from? Is it environmental? Is it you're drinking or eating? Is it like, what is it? I think that's a huge question that they're trying to figure out right now in the cancer communities. And it's very important that people donate to the correct cancer societies and things like that, so they can get more research done. I believe that. Any thoughts about that?
And you're doing a great job with your podcast
Yeah.
and bringing to light, people's different diseases and hearing the stories because I mean there's some incredible stories of just personal heroism and things like that of overcoming and so that's really great and we're all in this world together and
Yeah.
we're all this is our planet and we need to
Right.
take care of our planet and we need
Right.
to take care of the people and uh, my mission and I've said this a number of times my mission I
Yeah.
am steadfast you know I don't agree with all the divisiveness with our our government and governments throughout the world. It's just not the United States. It's in Canada and
Right.
in Europe and all in different parts of the world, China, you name it. And there's just so much division and so much um, negativity and things like that. And it's up to us as the people. There are only a few people that run countries, but there's a lot more of us. And if we're all coming together and to try to make this world better, we can make it better. We can help people, uh, respect people, appreciate different opinions, and that's what we should all be doing. And we should all come together and help each other because that's what life is all about. It's helping your fellow man or your fellow woman. Um, and I'm not afraid to say that at
Something from
all.
Michael Jackson song, actually. I was like, oh, I remember. I have to tell you, the day, like the week before we were leaving LA, Michael Jackson passed away, and they were flying him in the helicopter downtown. And I was like, oh my god, it was flying right in front of my apartment building. I was like, I'm watching it on TV, and it's right. I can see it right out of my building too. I'm like, okay, that's really creepy. Like that was really creepy. I'm like, so I have huge respect for him with what he was doing with the world with his what the songs he was coming up with and things like that. Trying to throw that in there, but as I
Thank
think
you.
when you're saying that, I was like, I was trying to remember the song, but yeah, that's what I was thinking of when you said
Are
that.
you talking about Man in the Mirror?
Yeah, well that one also, yeah, it was that one. And now I can't think of it. Man in Mirror though, and yeah, that's a big one too. That was a big song for that.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. Yeah, I love that song,
yeah, I
because
do
it
too.
it talks and as a cancer patient,
Mhm.
we have to look
Yeah,
in that mirror and
yeah,
we have to be honest with that person in the
right,
mirror, whatever disease we have.
right.
Uh,
I was just gonna
just
say,
be real with that person that
yeah,
you see. And,
right.
and that's what we need to do. But
That's what I
what I'd
love
like to
about,
do this
yeah,
at this time
yes.
is I'd like to wrap things up.
Yep.
I'd like to thank Jenny Gold for
Thank you.
being my guest and for sharing her thoughts.
Thank
And
you.
she please, can you do this? Can you give us the address of your podcast and I'll put it in the description as well.
Sure, it's called podcast, not podcast. That's what it is. So that's what it's called. But if you go to Jenny's Gold Standard, um, on Gmail, not Gmail, sorry, on LinkedIn or Facebook, you can find it under Jenny's Gold Standard. And actually on sorry, on YouTube too also.
Okay,
And
so I'll be sure to put that in the description of this interview so
thank you.
people can reach out to you
Right.
and
Thank you.
see your podcast and see your LinkedIn page and
Yeah.
and
And also YouTube.
and all that.
Yeah,
So
on YouTube it's under Jenny's Gold Standard. They're all on there.
okay, Jenny's Gold Standard. That I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So at this time, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us here at To Be Your Own Hero. And, I am so thrilled, so thankful. And be sure to appreciate your health,
Mhm.
appreciate your life, appreciate every single day, every single hour, every single minute, every single second, and every single breath, because life is so beautiful. And let's all put together, pray for the people in Ukraine, and pray for the people that are going through suffering and disease and everything like that. Have a fantastic week. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Great. Bye.
Bye
Thank you.
bye.
Go on.